Okay guys, so to finish off our macro video series, we've talked about so far protein, we talked about carbs, and now we're going to go into the third macro, which is fats. Now again, fats, you've probably heard a lot of talk about fats, especially when it comes to the fitness industry, weight loss industry. People are like, fats, it's the enemy. No, we got to stay away from the fats. You're going to eat fat, you're going to get fat. And yes, okay, fats are very calorie dense, as we know. We know carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram, proteins have 4 calories per gram, and good old-fashioned fats have 9 calories per gram. But what the hell are fats? Okay, let's go over them. Now, fats are again another category of essential macros. So whereas proteins, you have to have them, they are essential proteins there. Carbohydrates are non-essential, so in theory you could live without carbohydrates. It wouldn't be a really comfortable life. Yeah, that's full-on ketogenesis, avoiding any form of carbs, but you do need stuff like fibrous carbs. Fats again also have essential fats, so these fats your body cannot produce. You have to get them through your nutrition. So just like proteins, they're vital to life. So they deal with a lot of our body's functions, from stuff like the body's neurological function to stuff like hormone regulation and organ function. So as you can see, they're pretty important. So again, in the past, fats have been kind of looked at as the key problem, what leads to obesity. And yes, you know, fats, if you eat a lot of fats, you're going to get fat, of course, if your whole nutrition plan is tits up. So if you're eating just shit, and yeah, it's like pizzas and fried chicken, etc., you know, yes, you're getting a bit of protein here, you're getting a bit of carbs there, you're getting, you know, a lot of carbs and a lot of fat. Of course you're going to be putting on fat because your body's in a calorie excess, isn't it? So but again, there are a lot of studies showing positives and negatives on having a high fat diet. But before we get into that, let's go into what kind of fats they are. So just like we talked about carbohydrates, proteins, there are different forms of fats. So the first form is monounsaturated fats. So again, you probably heard this being said a lot in a lot of advertising. They're like, high in monounsaturated fats, and you're like, what the fuck is that? So what this is, monounsaturated fat can actually help. It's a fat that's compound has not been broken down, the chain compound, so it's monounsaturated. And what this actually does do in the body is it improves the blood cholesterol levels. So when your blood cholesterol levels are really high, it can lead to stuff like heart attack, diabetes. So by reducing it, it's a good thing. So it's something we do definitely want. And it also has shown to benefit in our body's insulin and blood sugar level control. So remember when we talked about in the carbohydrates, is that simple carbs can lead to that big insulin kick. Well, having monounsaturated fats can help regulate this, and especially for any of you guys and girls who may have type 2 diabetes. So that's something to check up on. So when these, one little benefit is when these monounsaturated fats are combined with saturated fats, it has actually been shown to promote healthy testosterone levels. So this is where we talked about fats being very beneficial to our hormone regulation. So for you guys out there, you really got to make sure you do have your fats. I can understand when you are going through a cutting regime, you do target for that. Even with me, when I'm cutting down, fats have to go down a little bit, quite a bit, and so do my carbs as well. So maintaining testosterone levels is quite important, because that's going to lead to maintaining your muscle integrity, your strength, your overall athletic performance. So making sure you have sufficient monounsaturated and saturated fats is quite important as well. So another thing is the body can actually use fat as energy. So during workout sessions, you can actually utilize your fat reserves, or you can even utilize your fat intake from the monounsaturated fats as well. So what's a good source of monounsaturated fat? So a good source is stuff like peanut butter. Peanut butter, fantastic source of monounsaturated fat, and it tastes great as well. Then you got stuff like olive oil, castor oil, avocados. You got your other nuts as well, almonds, hazelnuts, pecans. And then you got good old-fashioned seeds, stuff like pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds. So that's one place where you can get some of these fats from. So let's go over to the next fat, which is polyunsaturated fat. Again, it's to do with the chemical compound structure. So poly, and then we had mono, single, poly, multiple. So this is mostly found in plant-based foods and oils, and these polyunsaturated fats again have been shown to improve blood cholesterol levels, again reducing the chance of heart disease, diabetes, heart attack, you name it. And they've also, as I mentioned, sorry, I'm going around in circles, but they also help reduce with type 2 diabetes, sorry, not just diabetes in general. So where can you get these polyunsaturated fats? Stuff like sunflower oil, corn oil, soybeans, and flaxseed oil, all a good source. Again, your nuts again, not these nuts, but your nuts in general. So stuff like walnuts, then you got flax seeds, fish, stuff like salmon. I mentioned salmon is high in good old-fashioned oily fats, and then castor oil. Even though castor oil has a little bit higher monounsaturated than poly, but it still has a good mix of both. So we're going to go over the next one, the third type of fat. Again, this one you're going to have heard a lot about is your omegas. So stuff like omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids. So again, what are these? Now, one of the type of the polyunsaturated fats are essential so your body can produce them. You can't produce them on those. So in other words, omegas have to come from nutrition. These are one of the essential fats. So you got to make sure you're getting your omegas, whether it be from supplements or from food. And again, fats, the omegas have shown beneficial towards your heart conditioning, decrease the chance of coronary artery disease, protect against irregular heartbeats, and lower your blood pressure levels. So that's quite a impressive resume just from one little fat. In fitness, fats have shown to actually turn on genes in regards to burning fat, and that is insane. So making sure you're getting fats can actually help your body activate its fat burning furnace and help actually reduce genes that store fats. So it's a gene manipulator, and that's very rare to see foods being able to interact on that level. So where can you get your omegas from? Now, you can get them from plants, but plants tend not to have a high level of conversion in comparison to omegas from fish in the body. So personally, I recommend getting from fish, but whatever's within your budget or within your lifestyle. So if you're a vegetarian, of course you're going to look a little bit more towards the walnuts and the castor oil, the soybeans, and the flax seeds. But for you other guys and girls out there, sardines and salmon and mackerel, great sources of omega fats. So now we're going to go over the next category of fats. So fats, remember, it's broken down to a lot of ones. There's something called saturated fats. So the first two were unsaturated, meaning the molecular structure hasn't been broken down. And now we have saturated fat, meaning the molecular structure has been saturated. Mainly this fat does come from stuff like red meat, poultry, and full fat dairy products. And saturated fats, sorry, I've just completely lost my head there. Saturated fats can actually raise your levels, your blood cholesterol levels, and low density polyprotein cholesterol levels, which can then increase the chance of cardiovascular disease. So in other words, you don't want too much saturated fat in your diet. Again, it has been shown to increase your risk of type 2 diabetes. But that said, that's on the negative side of things. The positive side is saturated fat actually has been shown in us guys to help promote healthy testosterone levels. So when it comes to fitness, remember, testosterone is vital. So one great source to make sure you're getting good, clean, saturated fat is from egg yolks. Now, egg yolks, remember, also have a bit of protein, but they have the cholesterol in there, and that's something I recommend you guys and girls are getting at least 2 to 3 egg yolks a day should be sufficient. More than enough that you're going to need. A lot of people eat something like 5 eggs a day, and they're really getting that excess of saturated fat. You don't want excess on this. Again, remember, fats are calorie dense. We need them, but in moderation. So now we're going to quickly go over fats that you should avoid like the plague. Right, so these are called trans fats. Now, again, you've probably heard this being said a lot. Now, what the hell are trans fats? Now, trans fats are very, 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 very rarely found in normal food, but they're found in very small levels. But trans fats are fats that have been modified in the lab by a process called partial hydrogenation. So they've been altered to increase the food's shelf life, or to act as a preservative as well. So a lot of processed food will have high levels of trans fats. So you're making the food a little bit more easy to cook, and it will last longer, higher shelf life. But the problem is, because it's been manipulated in the lab, our bodies don't know how to really handle this stuff. So research has shown that partial hydrogenated trans fat can increase unhealthy LDL cholesterol and lower healthy high density polyprotein cholesterol. In other words, it gets in the body and it ruins the balance. So what you want a good amount of high density polyproteins, but when you get trans fat, it starts to lower that and starts increasing your low density polyproteins, which you don't want too much of. And then of course this then relates to increasing your risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, you name it. It's kind of like throwing a spanner in the works. So trans fat is something you want to avoid, so always check the labels. Nowadays companies are getting a little bit smarter about it, and you'll see on the cover usually say no trans fat. So trans fats are the one to watch out for. But in general, fats are something our body needs. Remember, they're essential. Yes, they're very calorie dense, so you just want to make sure you're getting sufficient but not too much fat. A lot of diets out there either they target fat by reducing it, or they target fat by increasing it and removing carbs. So what's this called? It's called ketogenesis. So the body is able to utilize fat as an energy reserve. It doesn't need carbohydrates. It's favorite carbohydrate. When you have carbs, you get a big, it's quite easy for the body to convert it into energy. Whereas when you got fat, it's got to shift the body from its normal metabolism into ketogenesis, and for that the body needs to apply a little bit of effort. And if you ask anyone, the first about a day or two of going into they call a keto diet, they feel like shit. I've been there, I've done it as well. Your energy level is shit until your body's in ketogenesis, and then it starts burning through that fat as well. So how much would I recommend for you guys and girls for a healthy amount of fat? Try 0.5 grams per pound of weight. So see how your body responds to that with a regular intake of good clean carbohydrates and good clean protein, and that should keep you as sound as a pound. Anyhow guys, so that's my quick little video over the macros. So we went over protein, carbohydrates and fats. Hopefully that helped clear up some of the confusion. Yes, there is a lot of information out here about macros. The trick is to filter what you need and try to see how you can apply it in your daily life. So hopefully this video helped. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. Do give us a thumbs up as well, because it does help us out massively. And I'll catch you guys and girls later for our next videos. And if I have missed anything out, or if there's anything you guys and girls may need help with, feel free to leave a comment below or send me a message, and I'll see if I can cover that for you. So see you all in a bit. Peace.